Well, I'm going to do a little bit of an AM-DX scan using the Sangean ATS909x2. I'm connected to my external antenna, which is an MLA 30 plus. You can see that little box over there to the left. I'll slide the camera over. And that's the power injector box for the antenna. I'm not going to really do a band scan. I'm not going to go through every medium wave channel I find. I'm going to turn this on and off when I find something interesting. And for a start, here is let's see. This is from Cincinnati. Just double check the caller. There's WLW from Cincinnati. Coming in nicely. Let's see what else we can. Okay, well, just up one notch effectively at North American AM. This is 710, which is WOR New York. Cyber intelligence activities on behalf of their paymasters. Well, maybe I'll scan a little bit. It's a dense area.
Roderick has seen the wisdom of speech. His name?
This is local.
Graphius.
Graphius?
Yeah.
An unusual name for an Earthman.
Describe him.
This is Zoomer Radio, CFZM from Mississauga,
Describe him.
which is just essentially a suburb of Toronto. And we might get, well, we're not getting it today. Sometimes we can get Atlanta.
Rallying in our streets.
760 should be WJR from Detroit.
By campaigning directly to
coming in strongly
extremists and
tonight.
anti-Semites.
And then next 770.
77 WABC.
Well, there you go, WABC from New York. Chicago is sometimes weirdly hard to get in. It's in there. But that should be BBM from Chicago. And this is CKLW from Windsor. Next one we'll get is 810. That'll be WGY from Schenectady.
Guy, you're good to go, Mike.
That's local.
Draw attention from the media.
This might be WHAS from Louisville,
This is
Kentucky.
what I've heard. Now, Donald Trump, as President of the United States,
$850 is usually WEEI from Boston. Not coming in terribly well. Sometimes it fights it out with KOA from Denver, although I don't think it's probably dark enough over Denver for that to be working. Local.
Just go to njdiet.com. Their program starts with bioenergetically personalized supplements based on your
This is New York. This, of course, I've demonstrated before
testing to create your ideal diet plan and work out right
with a different radio. This is WCBS from New York City. 890 sometimes comes in. One of the problems with using the MLA 30 plus is that at the moment it's set up, it's actually attached to a wall outside the room here, out on the deck, which is, when I first got the antenna, was a good spot for reducing shortwave interference, and that was my primary goal with where I was trying to put it up. And keep in mind, most of us who are using one of these antennas are using it because we have interference problems and don't have the space to set up a long random wire antenna. So that means that it may not be oriented in the quite the correct direction for all of these stations, and we could try it again with the radio's internal antenna. But I've been quite impressed so far with what the MLA 30 Plus can do on medium wave. So 890 we're not getting, or very barely. 900 Hamilton here in Ontario.
Your one-stop shop for all things water.
For your future.
Yeah, sometimes you get some. This doesn't happen.
That's AKGEOFF.ca. That's AskJeff.ca. And join Jeff
I'll have
every
to double
Monday
check my
on
list and
Monday
see what
Wealth
that is.
on the Mark
960.
Show
Yeah, this is CKNT.
960 AM.
There we go. Now you know what it is.
Hi, this is a Greco Reference.
And order directly from us here at Focus on the Planet Canada. Because when you see LPL.com cost goes into the Wayback Machine.
Let's see, 980, what are we at? Okay, let's see if we can get some of these. We shouldn't really have anything in here.
Which, from time immemorial,
1010 is
has
CFRB,
been a presence of indigenous
which
peoples.
also broadcasts on shortwave, oddly enough. 1030.
Listen to Family Financial Focus from 93 Financial Group every Saturday.
Yeah, this should be WBZ.
Paul
Yeah.
and Larry Wells will help you keep up to
WBZ
date
from
on
Boston.
financial topics important to you and your family. This is Dan Ray for Window World.
We might get 1020, might get Pittsburgh. Yeah, cut down the bandwidth a bit. Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe. This is local.
You got me flying, I'm flying. You
Well, this is probably one of the New York stations coming in. I don't have it on my list off the top of my head, so I don't know it off the top of my head.
Of the Cleveland Guardians by Uncle Charlie's, official sausage of the Cleveland Guardians, and your next barbecue.
This is WTAM from Cleveland, obviously enough. 1090 might be Baltimore. I have had it in before. I would say it probably is.
Pharmacists at Drug Mart will work with you and your doctor to ensure all your prescriptions will...
1110. I'm not sure whether that's Charlotte, North Carolina, WBT Charlotte. I haven't received that before, at least that I've been clear on. Do we have something? We don't have anything on our usual on my usual daytime list that's there, so. This probably KMOX from St. Louis. That comes in fairly often. This could be WBBR from New York. This could be 1140 WRVA from Richmond, Virginia. That's possible. That would be a pretty long haul from Toronto.
70% of the way to second base. You're watching the throw. All of a sudden, you realize it's out.
Yeah, that would be 700 kilometers, so 435 miles. That I'm not sure I've heard it before.
That the suspect has since been arrested. So now we've got all of these.
This is probably sorry, I just lost it. 1160. It's probably WYLL from Chicago. But can't really make it out. Not sure what that would be. Most likely from West Virginia, from Wheeling, West Virginia, but there might be something else more local and low power would be my guess. Yeah.
For you, you've been waiting for a proven alternative in
This
the
is Wham from Rochester.
Years of history and over 1 million vehicles.
This is probably low power broadcast from New York State. Weirdly enough, this is hard to get. CFGO from Ottawa. I don't think I've ever managed to be clear on getting that.
IBXMedicare.com/star.
Every year, Medicare evaluates plans based on a 5-star rating system. Keystone 65 offers HMO plans with a Medicare contract. Enrollment in Keystone 65
This is
Medicare
probably
Advantage
a
plans depends on contract
WPHT
renewal.
from Philadelphia
Hey, it's Rich.
coming in like a local station.
Dr. Mike Veneria, great guy. Whether you're looking for pediatric, general, cosmetic, or implant dentistry, look no further. Dr. Veneria and his award-winning team have your whole family covered, just like mine. Dr. Veneria's office exceeds CDC guidelines and has always maintained the strictest infection control with centralized UV sterilization of airflow to ensure your safety. Locations right over the bridge in Cinnaminson and Woodbury.
Yeah, so it is.
856-786-2020 or veneriadental.com.
So we've got Philadelphia.
Score and save this football season on your car for their job. For, by the way, contributing
It's probably
to what was
Cleveland
then the
again,
political
since it seems to be
position of
coming
people
in well,
like Barack Obama and Hillary
WHK.
Clinton.
Let's see if we can get 1270 in. No. 1280. Should be CFMB from Montreal, but we've got two things on top of each other here right now. Can't really null the antenna on here. I'm not sure what else we get more locally. Let's see. Ottawa just. So we have local. Alright, what else would be interesting here? 1510. Boston. I'd be looking for WMEX Boston on here. 1520 from Buffalo. Oh, that's there. What else can we get? Probably 1540.
Escola canadiana e pediu desculpa aos nativos pelo que considerou erro desastroso.
That's local. Right, what have we got on 1540 here? 1540, that's Chen.
Esteve em Alberta, no Canadá, perante dezenas de sobreviventes internos governamentais e lamentou a participação de missionários e membros do clero na política de assimilação forçada dos governos até aos anos 70.
Not really much else that we're likely to get in. Everything else is going to be local Toronto or regional stations. So I said that wasn't going to be a band scan, but it turned out to be a very quick band scan with a lot of skipping. So you can see that if you go through a list of the strong. I have this my list taken from I can't remember now. List of 50,000 watt stations in Canada and the United States, and that's usually where I start from. I also have a couple of lists that I've built up around stations that tend to come in Toronto. But the really interesting stuff tends to be picking up the low wattage broadcasters from upstate New York, and there are a lot of low power stations, and it's fun sometimes to see if you can, look at some of those spots where you don't really expect to find something, and there does seem to be something there. That's a little bit difficult to do with the external antenna because you can't turn it, right? Normally, if you were doing it with the radio, you would turn the radio to null out, because the ferrite antenna in here is directional. You can point it essentially towards the station that you're attempting to bring in. It would be possible to set up the ML30 plus antenna as directional, but that's probably more trouble than so that you could rotate it. I'd have to get it above the roof line, then I'd have to worry a little bit more about sort of lightning prevention and all that. So it just really hasn't been that interesting to me. I would probably use a different internal antenna if I were going to give that a try. A loop or something like that would be probably more convenient for that purpose. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this little, I guess, what turned into a band scan of essentially 50,000 watt stations that you can reasonably DX here in Toronto. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was fun, and I would say that, if you had a receiver with decent AM performance, you should be able to get those kinds of stations in on a good night. We're approaching 11 o'clock at night here in Toronto, so by the time you get to around 10 or 11 in the summer, it's starting to get pretty good. I think you should be able to find this stuff pretty easily with a receiver with decent AM performance, which this does have. But I would think you would do pretty well even indoors with something like the little the little PL330, which is the other radio I tend to talk about here. And there are also analog radios as well, although there you have to wait until you get to station ID most of the time. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that, and good evening.